I'm sure any of you watching this video has been through a breakup but didn't really felt like a breakup in the first place because there weren't anything special between you and that person. So let's say in my experience, there was this one girl that I met, like we just talked a couple of times. It was really fast. I took her out on a date. It was doing good, but she kind of ghosted me right after that. But for some reason my I felt like something deep inside me was being crushed. I don't know. I seriously didn't know why I was feeling that way. We only met, we've only known each other for like a couple of weeks. We only had a date, single date, and like an actual date. And I kept asking her, not sleeping, was texting her at 2 a.m., all the bunch of stupid things. And the part that surprised me the most and topic of this video is that I felt like one side of me was keep on rationalizing and logically telling me that this is not logical. Like what I'm doing isn't rational. It's not rational at all. You gotta like snap out of it and just like move on. Like it wasn't even something. But the other part of me just leans to it. Like a plant. Schopenhauer called this will versus reason, and I think I felt like there was this part of me that isn't myself, that's just honest, and I wouldn't say honest, but like a plant leans to light. It just does it regardless of how unreasonable the situation is and how irrational the situation is. So no matter how many times I write things down on a note and tell myself that this is not good for you, like this is not good for you for the future, and this isn't something that you should be reacting like this badly on. I kept just feeling so differently, like the opposite of what I'm saying to myself, what I'm talking to myself. There's this thought experiment, Mary's room. It's called Mary's room. Mary's a scientist. Let's say it's just a thought experiment. Let's say she learns everything about photoreceptors and how colors works. The wavelengths and all these studies behind how colors are perceived. But let's say she was raised in a room full of just only gray and dark color. And once she steps out of that room and sees color red, does she learn something? And Jackson, the person who wrote this idea, should I say, said that yes, like she learned something new because knowledge has its own limits, and it's not like the kind of limit that can be. I wouldn't say like I feel like they are completely in a different dimensions. It's not like knowledge is one and experience is like 10, so you gotta have this like accumulate this certain amount of knowledge in order to match that like one of experience. I don't think so. I feel like they are just completely two different things. Just like how just like how the how do you say this, something bias, I forgot the word, excuse me, bystander bias. It's not the word that I'm looking for, but let's just stick with that because it basically has the same meaning. Bystander bias. When you're looking, just like how I was the most of periods of my life, I've always been the observer of the crowd. I never was fully engaged with it. So what happens is you feel like you can do a lot more than what you actually can. So you keep on just observing and thinking that, oh, okay, he's another person, he's another one who just doesn't understand how things work. Like I could have done much better. I've seen all the things, and on average, some might climb up, like do a bit better than the average, but I feel like I can do a lot better than that since I know the knowledge and I know how this game works. But in reality, like once you step in, once you are in the stage, once you go up on the stage, what happens is you freeze, your brain works completely different. And I had this moment, like countless of times I realized how small I was because of the gap between how I thought that I would be moving and acting, and how I actually was enormous and massive. Let's say like the biggest the great the best example for this is my personal experience again. I thought that I was really good at talking to girls. Let's say when I was in high school, you know, I thought that I could just like, talk to other girls, talk to a stranger and grab her Instagram or number, just like how I could in my, let's say, like junior high a couple of times. Again, it was just because I'm sure it was just because I was the only Asian in my school in my junior high. It was similar to the same in high school as well. But what my point isn't like bragging out. The point is, once I came back to Korea and like I have this time spending in academy, and while that I was feeling kind of bored and I wanted to just uh, walk up to strangers and like ask Instagram or numbers like that, and it never worked, and I froze so many times. My heart was like beating so fast. I stuttered so many times. I still remember just like it was yesterday. So it's like the same goes for like every single thing. I feel like it's not something that you cannot experience this just by thinking how you, let's say, you promised yourself that you're going to do this A B and C yesterday night, and look what happened today. Like what happened, you promised to do that one thing last week or the day or last month or even a year before, or every single new year everyone has their own new year goals, let's say, like lists of things that you want to accomplish in this year. And what happens is that you try. I feel like 50% of the people don't even try. They're very defeated inside. Like they feel like they cannot do this, but like they have to choose one, so they just like have to go through the same kind of goals that they already how do I say, aimed last year. And the other half, like another half, so 25% of people end up not making it after 100 days. So it's not about knowledge. I don't think so. Like I feel like what the will, the dormant, I wouldn't say dormant, like speechless, formless version of ourselves who is just honest with itself, leans to, just like a plant leans to light, it leans to light. It just moves, it just operates. I feel like it's a lot more genuine, and it has something, it's telling you something that you should be careful, like you should pay attention to. And I'm not saying everything's just determined by your own will, by this plant that doesn't even speak or negotiate with you. The thing that you can do is the actions that you do after. So maybe the feelings don't care about what you're feeling and what kind of things that you're going through. It just reacts. Like anger, let's say, like there's a certain flinch. This kind of like sexual drives that you just get into. That just happens. Hunger, even though you know that you learned the mechanism behind it, you cannot fight it back. You cannot make it not happen to you. But what we can do is we can, like, if we cannot construct the feelings, you can conduct after the feelings. You can act after that. Let's say if someone hits you in the face, punch you in the face, you can retaliate, yes, but you can also not. You can choose the conduct right after these sudden flinches, sudden emotions that you get from the plant, from your own will. But also, like, this has a catch as well, because it's not like you constructed this form of thoughts, this choices by yourself. They were already chosen and kind of shaped for years. It could be months, or like most of the times for years, by your upbringings and environments. So technically, like those uh, those choices aren't even yours in the first place. But it gets a lot trickier because it doesn't crosses the like distinct domains. I'll say, like, this domain is for us, like we can choose this, and this domain is for will. It's just not how it works. So, like, as always, I don't have like a solid and not a compound, I wouldn't say like a solid answer to this matter, just like other videos. But I just wanted to share this thought of whenever I have raised a question about like why don't we do this, why don't let's for example, I actually started questioning about things like why don't we teach children in a way that we teach, let's say, adults? Like why do we have to lean on this fantasized and romanticized image of parents? Why do we have to tell them that parents are almighty, their world? I mean, they are technically their world, but like why do we have to give them this fantasy that's gonna break? And I know it's such a weak argument, but that's not the point. Like what I'm trying to say is it all comes down to feelings when things again, what I'm trying to say is even if you can perfectly logically and rationalize your own thought, this one idea, once the reality, not reality, I wouldn't say like once, yeah, reality, I'll say maybe reality or this experience, like once you experience, once you go through it, actually, you start saying different things because it's not just how it is, like it's just not basketball, let's say. It's just not how it's not simple, like once you try to go like into a certain depth, like whatever it is, it's not just as simple as it sounds, but because you went through it, you actually went through it. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna marry this girl, like I'm gonna it should be fine. I can, I can handle this. I get good grade in the second semester or like second half kind of thing. Like once you actually try to do it, things just fall apart, and you understand why it's difficult, why it's not just, it just doesn't work how you thought it would work. And I kind of sidetracked from the idea, what like the first question that I raised, because I like at the end of the day, it really feels like it's all about feelings. Just like how I always talk about, we describe after we feel. It's hard to control this will of yours, and it sometimes feel like like me, myself, and this will are two completely separate things. I try. There's this one quote, not it's not technically a quote, but phrase that I really loved while doing my own research about this matter, is that this will, this us, this consciousness of ours thinks that it's in charge of things, while most of the times it's just not. I'm not talking about nihilism and all determinism kind of things, but at the end of the day, like I'm sure you've been through this like numerous times, even just like I said, like even in daily basis, we all experience this multiple times throughout a week. So no, it was really fascinating to do this research, and leave your comments down if you have any, if you have your own opinions about this matter, about this thought experiment or idea. Thank you for watching the video.